For this video, I'm going to cover the collaborative writing project, which are weeks 5 and 6. So what you'll see in the content browser in the table of contents is both weeks are connected together here. So when we open these, you'll see all of the assignments and all of the due dates for weeks 5 and 6. So the general information is loaded in this, and then the actual layout of the assignment is loaded in this PDF. And then what you'll see is an assignment for the group letter of inquiry, an assignment for the proposal, a discussion board for the peer review, an assignment for the final collaborative designed project, and then a discussion board for the designed project with peer review. All of these have individual due dates. All of the due dates are loaded in the PDF assignment sheet, as well as all of the directions. For each of the assignments, I expect each individual student, each member of each group, to submit their own copy. I expect the copies to then be the same across groups. It's just easier for me to grade in case groups shift at all during these two particular weeks. So I'm not assigning groups in D2L. Each individual member needs to submit an exact replica of the group designed letters, proposals, and projects. For the discussion boards, I want one member of each group to upload a copy of their project to the discussion boards, and then each individual student needs to provide peer review. So in the rough draft version, each student needs to peer review 2 group projects, and I expect, as I say here and as I say in the assignment sheet, thoughtful, constructive criticism. In the final submission, each student needs to post a comment on every project submitted. Okay, so let's go through the assignment so you guys have a better idea of what you're dealing with this week. So the collaborative writing project is a way for you guys as a group to deal with all of the grammar and all of the ideas that come along with how to effectively write well for businesses. So the collaborative writing project is a group project that's going to allow groups to play with design and develop designed business projects. For this assignment, each group will work together to design a project. Project is open to interpretation. This could be a PowerPoint or a series of PowerPoints. This could be a Prezi or a series of Prezis, an infographic or a series of infographics, a designed web space. So WordPress has free websites, Wix has free websites, Google Docs has free websites, so it's actually Google Sites. Any of those or anything else that you guys can think of to convey the information that you guys choose is appropriate. All of the information has 2 phases to run by me so that you get approval before you move forward, so that once you get to submitting the project, you all should earn really high grades because I've looked at it multiple times. And the goal of this project is to design aids to help students of business writing as well as business writers with writing their grammar. So the final project should be a design, the assignments leading up to the final project, and written proposals reports for the phases of the project. Each group should complete 1 designed project, 1 draft of each written assignment, and then each student will submit them as I've gone over. As you work through ideas for this project, I want you to continue to consider what you learned in 5 Steps to Successful Writing and in Chapter 1 with the writing process, so that when you select topics from chapters 10, 11, and 12, you can contextualize that information as you think it's going to be necessary for other students in this class and professional business writers. So you're designing with the goals of your audience in mind, so then this is where the 5 principles come in again. So how do you design for a specific audience with medium in mind, with the purpose of your message being clear throughout your designed assignment, with an acceptable scope so that your audience understands here's what you're going to cover and here's how to use it, and then how do you both refer to business writing context as well as help the user or the viewer contextualize the information that you are then presenting to them. So in this video, because this is an online class, I use the video format to help contextualize assignments for this class. We talk a little bit about learning outcomes and goals, and then I'm relating it to other pieces of the semester to make sure that you're seeing here's how we've built up to this particular project. A series of videos could be the project that you choose to put together so that context is a little bit easier for you to develop. It might not be. You guys get to make these particular choices. So for this assignment, what I want you to do is actually use the textbook, and you're going to use the last chapter. So chapters 10, 11, and 12 of the textbook all lay out. So chapter 10 is all about style and clarity. So it previews, here are all of the different categories. You guys have the book so you can look it over. Chapter 11 is on grammar. Chapter 12 is on punctuation and mechanics. And then chapter 13 is an appendix and it's not actually marked chapter 13, that was just when I marked it, you may use or may want to glance through this appendix. So the goal of this assignment is not for you to be able to tell me everything that's covered in these pages. The goal is for you to select the topics that you think are going to be most helpful to an audience that you're able to manage for that particular audience in a series, in a project, in a series of projects, however you envision your project ultimately looking. So what portions of style and clarity can you cover and should you cover? What portions of grammar can you cover and should you cover? What portions of mechanics and usage should you cover and can you cover? And why are those important? How do you make that information meaningful and accessible to professionals currently writing in the business world and to students currently writing in the business world? So if you look at the way that the information is laid out in the textbook, it's very appropriate for the medium of a textbook. Learning some of these is not as helpful. Giving worksheets to professionals in the business world, probably not a good idea, but having some examples might be useful so somebody, a student or a professional, can figure out how does this idea apply to me. Those are the kinds of decisions that you as a group need to make about how you're going to present this information. You should not expect to cover every single thing across all of these chapters, but you should expect to cover a few things from each chapter really, really well. Each group is responsible for determining which aspects of these chapters should be covered, and again, I do expect some bits and pieces from every single chapter. Okay, so the parts of the assignment that you as a group will be submitting. So the group letter of inquiry is the first thing that you'll submit, and reread pages 122 to 124 so that you get an idea of what needs to be included. It also has a great checklist so you can be sure you've hit all of the elements necessary for a letter of inquiry. You should be asking me questions about the topics you're intending to cover and the technology you're intending to use, and then any holes that you have in either of those two items that you want me to fill in. The second assignment that's going to be due is a proposal. So the proposal is due Sunday, October 2nd. And again, group is going to write the proposal. Each student is going to submit a copy of it. So the draft of the proposal for the collaborative writing project should include, and then I've given you page numbers from chapter 5 that you'll want to read for what to include in a proposal. It should include a cover page, an introduction and a summary to your overall project, the project narrative and what you all intend to accomplish, what your learning outcomes are and how you intend to meet those, organization description, so how are you going to organize your final project, and then any conclusions that you have. So here's why this particular choice for our audience, so again, go back to the 5 principles. What's the purpose, what's the scope, what's the medium, who's the audience, and how are you going to cover all of that? That should be covered in the conclusions. Again, conclusion and introduction should be fairly brief. And then if you need to attach any attachments, feel free to attach them. This group proposal should outline the topics you're going to cover, how you'll put together your final project, including the technology you intend to use, the goals and the purpose of your particular project, because you need to have a tying goal so that all of the elements that you've selected make sense to the person, the audience, using the project, the work that's to be completed by each of the individual members, and the expected reception. So I really want to know, how do you see the audience understanding this? And how are you as a group going to complete this project? Set due dates for yourself. Tell me when you intend to work together. Tell me when you are holding other members of the group responsible for which pieces. This proposal should show awareness of business writing as discussed in the early weeks. So again, the 5 principles and chapter 1, where do the topics that you've selected fit into writing process? How is somebody who is writing supposed to understand what you're covering in relation to ideas of writing process? So revisit 5 steps to successful writing, revisit chapter 1, and then revisit chapters 7 and 8 to make sure that your design is forwarding your purpose to your audience in a way that you intend. This proposal should also show, we covered that. The topics covered should come from style and clarity, which is chapter 10, grammar, which is chapter 11, punctuation and mechanics, which is chapter 12, and then visit the appendix at the end of the book just in case you want to include any of that information as well. So the proposal is basically outlining, here's the project and here's how we expect it to come together. The next assignment is the rough draft. So then you guys are going to design this collaborative writing project. So one member of each group will submit a copy of your rough draft project, whatever that is, to the discussion boards. Each student is then required to peer review, and I'm looking for constructive criticism. Help the other groups refine their projects the same way they're going to help you refine your project. You guys then have a couple days to refine your project until it's due on Friday, October 7th. So each individual student should submit a copy of their final designed project, where the audience is students of this class as well as professional business writers. And then each student needs to peer review every single assignment that's been submitted by Sunday. So each student will submit a copy of the project. One member of the group will submit a copy to the discussion boards. Every student will respond in the discussion boards. So go through the assignment sheet again, work with your group, talk to your group, make some decisions, send me tweets if you have any questions about any of this. Use Twitter to work together so that you can both complete your tweets that are a part of the assignment and you can continue working on your assignment as you're going through it. So use Twitter to your benefit in that particular case, and then let me know if you have any questions. Again, reaching out to me on Twitter is usually the fastest way to get a response to me, so feel free to send me direct messages. If you guys have any questions, send me an email or send me a tweet. I'll see you online.